The air was heavy with the scent of lavender from the fresh flowers on the windowsill, and the soft hum of the city outside made the apartment feel cozy, almost deceptive in its calm. I, Alex, had always prided myself on being careful, meticulous even. My life was a careful balance of normalcy and secret indulgence. By day, a quiet, diligent office worker. By night, someone who explored a side of myself I rarely let anyone see. That side was bold, feminine, and unashamedly curious, a version of me that thrived in the textures of satin and silk, the click of heels against hard floors, and the delicate art of makeup. But today, the line between curiosity and chaos blurred in a way I never could have predicted. I had been dating Emma for almost a year now, and she was everything I admired: confident, playful, and slightly mischievous. Our relationship thrived on honesty and shared secrets, though I hadn't yet revealed the most daring one of all: my love for dressing up. It wasn't something I had pursued publicly. It was a private thrill, something I explored in solitude. I had my wardrobe carefully tucked away in a corner of my room, my high heels and dresses hidden from prying eyes, my makeup organized like a painter's palette, ready for the quiet evenings I spent transforming myself into a reflection of my boldest fantasies. Emma, on the other hand, had a curiosity that I couldn't resist. She had always joked about how she loved seeing new sides of me, even the ones I barely allowed myself to explore. It was one of the reasons I had let myself trust her implicitly. But today, her playfulness would take on a life of its own. The morning had started innocuously enough. Emma had invited me over for a quick visit, but her tone had carried that unmistakable edge of planning, something that hinted at a secret game or challenge. I didn't think much of it at first, assuming it was another one of her playful experiments. But as soon as I stepped into her apartment, I knew something was different. There was a gleam in her eye, and her smile held a secret promise, one I was both eager and hesitant to discover. "Alex," she said softly, leaning against the doorway of her bedroom, "I have a little surprise for you." The words were innocent, almost gentle, but the excitement in her voice made my pulse quicken. I followed her gaze toward the open closet, and my stomach dropped. It was larger than I expected, neatly organized, and, unexpectedly, empty, save for the scent of her perfume lingering in the air. "What surprise?" I asked, my voice betraying a mix of curiosity and apprehension. Emma stepped closer, her fingers brushing mine as she guided me toward the closet. "I thought you might enjoy a little game. Something a bit daring." Her eyes sparkled with a mischievous glint. "Hide in here. Just for a moment. Trust me." I blinked, momentarily taken aback. Hide? In her closet? It sounded absurd, but there was something in her tone, something intimate and thrilling, that made my heart leap. I nodded, stepping inside, the door closing softly behind me. The air was thick, scented with her perfume and the faint musk of her clothes. My hands brushed against the smooth fabrics, and a shiver ran down my spine. The space was tight, intimate, a cocoon that seemed to invite transformation. At first, I had intended to hide for only a few minutes, a harmless little thrill for the both of us. But as the minutes passed, a strange mix of excitement and anxiety settled in. I could hear Emma moving outside the closet, her voice occasionally teasing, "Are you comfortable in there?" My breath caught each time she spoke, the sound of her laughter magnifying the thrill and the fear. I shifted slightly, noticing how the light from the slightly ajar door highlighted my reflection in the mirror across the room. I barely recognized myself, not just in the shadows, but in the possibility of who I could be. The thought made my pulse race. For the first time, the private thrill I had always indulged alone felt alive, vibrant, and terrifying in the presence of someone else. And then the unexpected happened. I heard her footsteps approaching again, not a casual tease this time, but deliberate, purposeful. My heart raced as the closet door creaked open wider. Emma's face appeared, her eyes scanning me with amusement and intensity. "You look perfect," she murmured, almost to herself. There was a pause, a lingering, deliberate moment where I felt the weight of her gaze and the thrill of exposure collide. "Emma," I stammered, suddenly aware of my vulnerability, my heartbeat pounding in my ears. But before I could speak further, she smiled, a mixture of playfulness and command, and the next words sent a chill down my spine. "Now, don't leave." The words hung in the air like a spell. My safe, controlled life, the careful secrecy I had maintained, was suddenly in jeopardy. A shiver ran through me as I realized that the game had changed. The line between thrill and danger, playfulness and control, had blurred irreversibly. I was caught in a moment of suspense, unsure whether to laugh, protest, or surrender fully to the intoxicating tension of being completely exposed, yet entirely under Emma's whimsical rule. The closet seemed smaller now, intimate to the point of confinement. My mind raced with questions. How long would this last? Was it a test, a game, or something more permanent? The thrill of the unknown made my pulse spike, the warmth of the confined space mingling with the adrenaline coursing through my body. I touched my face, feeling the faint traces of makeup Emma had insisted I try earlier. A light brush of foundation, a hint of color on my lips. My reflection stared back at me, revealing a version of myself I had never allowed anyone to see. I took a deep breath, trying to steady the whirlwind of emotions inside me. Fear, excitement, vulnerability, and curiosity mingled in a storm that made every second in the closet feel like an eternity. Outside, Emma's voice drifted in, teasing, playful, almost hypnotic. "Stay just a little longer. Trust me." And in that moment, I realized something fundamental. This was no longer just a game. I had crossed a threshold. What began as a playful dare had become a suspenseful trap, one that would challenge everything I thought I knew about myself, my desires, and the boundaries between secrecy and exposure. The closet, once merely a hiding place, had transformed into a stage, a cage, and a mirror all at once. And as the door clicked softly behind me, sealing the moment in tension and possibility, I knew with an electrifying certainty that my life and my identity would never be the same. The tension inside the closet was suffocating, but in the most exhilarating way. My heart pounded against my ribcage like a drum, and every small sound, the faint click of Emma's heels, the rustle of her clothes, echoed like a warning. I had never felt so alive, so exposed, and so utterly captivated by a moment I couldn't control. I shifted slightly, brushing my hands over the smooth fabrics lining the closet walls. The textures of her dresses, soft silk, delicate lace, and bold satin, stirred something primal inside me, a mix of curiosity and longing I couldn't ignore. I had always indulged in crossdressing in the privacy of my own room, carefully layering foundation, mascara, and blush to transform myself into someone more confident, more daring. But here, in Emma's presence, the act took on an entirely new meaning. It wasn't just a transformation anymore. It was an invitation, a dare, and a challenge all at once. "Are you comfortable in there?" Emma's voice floated in, teasing yet commanding, and I swallowed hard, feeling the heat rise in my cheeks. I think so," I murmured, my voice trembling slightly. There was a pause, a quiet that made the small closet feel like the epicenter of the universe. I closed my eyes for a brief moment, imagining the luxurious dresses draped around me, the possibilities they held. And then, as if reading my mind, Emma nudged the door open just enough to slip in a small package, my first real transformation under her watchful eye. Inside was a dress, a soft, blush-colored cocktail dress, delicate lace tracing the neckline and flowing into a skirt that promised elegance and vulnerability. My fingers trembled as I touched it, feeling the smooth fabric against my skin. I had never worn anything like this outside of private sessions. It was daring, beautiful, and frightening all at once. Emma's eyes sparkled as she watched me hesitate. "Try it on," she whispered. "Just for me." I hesitated. My mind raced with doubt. What if I looked ridiculous? What if I got caught like this? And yet, the thrill of the forbidden, the intoxicating pull of being seen and admired, overcame every ounce of hesitation. I slipped into the dress, the fabric hugging my body, transforming me instantly. It wasn't just the dress, it was the persona it conjured. The soft lace, the curve of the neckline, the way it moved as I adjusted it. Suddenly, I was not just Alex hiding in a closet. I was someone entirely new, someone beautiful, delicate, and undeniable. Emma circled me, her hands brushing against my shoulders as she examined her work. "You look incredible," she breathed. "Like you were born for this." Her words, so genuine yet laced with mischief, sent a shiver down my spine. I caught my reflection in the mirror across the room. The person staring back at me was both familiar and foreign, Alex, yet someone entirely transformed. My chest tightened with an unfamiliar mix of excitement and vulnerability. I couldn't look away, couldn't stop myself from studying every detail: the soft curve of my cheeks, the delicate brush of blush on my skin, the subtle shimmer of eyeshadow that Emma had expertly applied. And then, the heels. Emma reached down to the small box beside the closet, lifting a pair of pale pink stilettos. My breath caught. High heels had always been a secret fascination of mine, something I had tried in solitude, but never dared wear in front of anyone else. Now, with Emma's eyes on me, the act became both thrilling and terrifying. "Here," she said, handing me the shoes. "Try them." I knelt to slip them on, feeling the immediate shift in posture, the way my balance demanded attention, the way my legs felt elongated and exposed. Standing up, I teetered slightly, heart racing as I took a tentative step. The heels clicked against the hardwood floor, a sound that was both empowering and humiliating, thrilling and vulnerable. I had never felt so alive, so aware of every movement, every heartbeat, every breath. Emma clapped softly, her laughter like a melody.
"Perfect," she said.
Absolutely perfect. The thrill of approval, the intoxicating mix of fear and desire, wrapped around me like a second skin. I realized then that this wasn't just about dressing up. It was about trust, surrender, and the exhilarating power of being seen in a way I had never allowed before. Minutes stretched into an eternity as Emma guided me through poses, watching my every movement. I felt the transformation deepening, not just physically, but emotionally. Each glance in the mirror reinforced the duality of my existence. Alex, the man I had always been, and this new persona, delicate and radiant, existing for Emma's eyes alone. But the suspense didn't end there. Every creak of the apartment, every distant sound, heightened my anxiety. Was someone outside the door? Could a neighbor peek in at any moment? The thrill of exposure mingled with a fear I hadn't anticipated. I had always been careful, cautious, meticulous, but now, with Emma orchestrating the scene, I was powerless. Every moment in this closet became a high-stakes game. Emma noticed my tension. She reached out, brushing a stray strand of hair behind my ear. "Relax," she whispered. "You're safe here. Just enjoy it." Her words, so intimate and commanding, made my heart race. I nodded, taking a deep breath, and allowed myself to sink into the moment. I felt my fears melting away, replaced by a daring exhilaration I had never known. The closet was no longer just a hiding spot. It was a stage, a sanctuary, and a trap all at once. Time became fluid. I lost track of minutes, lost in the sensation of silk against my skin, the height of the heels, and the intoxicating thrill of being observed. Emma guided me through subtle poses, soft touches, and approving nods. Each action deepened the transformation, both physically and emotionally. I wasn't just Alex hiding in her closet anymore. I was her creation, her muse, her living fantasy, and the knowledge made my pulse race. And then came the unexpected twist, the knock. A sudden rap at the apartment door jolted me upright, heels clacking against the floor. My heart leaped. Emma froze, a mischievous smile curling on her lips. "See," she whispered, her eyes alight with amusement. "The real test begins now." I froze, every nerve alive with tension. Who could it be? Would they see me like this? Would my secret life be exposed in a heartbeat? Emma's hand found mine, warm and steady, grounding me even as panic surged. Relax, she said again, her voice a bomb and a challenge at the same time. Just stay and trust me. The knock came again, louder this time, echoing through the apartment like a drumbeat of suspense. My breath caught, my mind racing, every instinct telling me to hide. But where? I was already hidden and exposed simultaneously, caught in a delicate balance that teetered on the edge of disaster. Emma's eyes sparkled as she stepped closer, brushing her hand along my back. "This is the fun part," she whispered. "Do you trust me?" I nodded, unable to speak, heart pounding, body trembling in the thrill of anticipation and fear. In that moment, I understood fully. My life had changed. The game, the dare, the experiment, it was no longer a choice. I was immersed in a suspenseful world of transformation, exposure, and intimate discovery, and there was no turning back. The knock at the door had shattered the fragile bubble of exhilaration I had been floating in, and now every sense in my body was on high alert. My heart pounded like a drum in my chest, the heels clicking nervously against the floor as I took an unsteady step backward. Emma's hand was still on my back, grounding me, her touch both a comfort and a silent command to stay in the moment. "Just breathe," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the cacophony of my own racing thoughts. "We can handle this." I nodded, though my legs threatened to buckle under the tension. The knock came again, insistent, and my mind raced. Who could it be? A neighbor? A delivery person? Or someone who might stumble upon my secret life? Panic and thrill collided inside me, each heartbeat amplifying the suspense. Emma motioned for me to stay low and silent. "I'll handle it," she said, her voice calm but firm. I crouched slightly in the closet, the soft fabric of my dress brushing against my thighs, a constant reminder of the delicate persona I had become. She opened the door just enough to peer outside, her expression neutral but alert. "Hey, sorry to bother you," a voice said from the hallway. "Is Alex around?" I froze, my breath caught in my throat. My name, my real name, spilled out into the hallway, threatening to shatter the delicate illusion I had worked so hard to maintain. Emma's eyes flicked to me, a mischievous smile playing at the corners of her lips. "Stay put," she mouthed, before turning back to the visitor. "Alex isn't home right now. Can I take a message?" The voice hesitated. Sure. Just tell them Sam stopped by." Emma nodded and closed the door silently, the click echoing in the tense stillness of the apartment. I exhaled sharply, my knees almost giving way as relief and adrenaline surged through me. My hands shook slightly as I smoothed the dress, the lace now feeling heavier, almost symbolic of the double life I was living. Emma's eyes softened as she stepped closer, brushing a loose strand of hair behind my ear. "See," she said. "Everything's fine. But now we get to push it further." Before I could respond, she pulled out a small compact mirror and handed it to me. "Look at yourself," she urged. "Really look." I obeyed, and the reflection that stared back at me was mesmerizing. The blush on my cheeks, the carefully applied eyeshadow, the perfect curve of my lips. It was as though I had been transformed into a new version of myself, someone Alex could never have imagined becoming. I felt a shiver of both excitement and fear. Could I really maintain this persona if someone else walked in? Could I live in this dual world without losing control? Emma circled me, her eyes appraising every angle, every detail. "You're perfect," she murmured, almost to herself. "The heels, the dress, everything. But now, let's make it real."
Real.
That word sent a thrill down my spine. I had been playing at transformation, indulging in secret desires, but now Emma was challenging me to live it, even if only for a few hours. She guided me out of the closet and into the main room, heels clicking loudly against the floor, each step a declaration of my new identity. I felt exposed, vulnerable, and entirely alive. Every sound in the apartment, the faint hum of the refrigerator, the distant city noise, seemed amplified, as though the world itself were holding its breath, waiting to see if I would falter. "Sit," Emma commanded softly, pointing to a chair near the window. I obeyed, my body tense, every nerve alive with anticipation. She knelt in front of me, adjusting the hem of the dress, ensuring it fell just right. Then she pulled out her phone, a camera poised and ready. "Let's take some pictures," she said, her eyes sparkling. "You need to see how incredible you look." I hesitated, a wave of self-consciousness washing over me. But Emma's encouragement, her unwavering gaze, dissolved my doubt. I struck a pose, the heels shifting my posture, the dress flowing around me like a delicate cloud. The camera clicked, each flash capturing not just an image, but a moment of transformation, a snapshot of vulnerability and exhilaration intertwined. Suddenly, a sharp knock at the door cut through the room. My heart leapt into my throat. Emma's hand gripped mine tightly. "Stay calm," she whispered. The door rattled again, louder this time. I could hear muffled voices, neighbors or perhaps a maintenance worker. My mind raced. What if they saw me like this? What if my secret, my most private indulgence, was exposed in a single moment? Emma's expression shifted, a mixture of mischief and strategy. "Quick," she hissed. "Back to the closet. We can't be caught now." I followed her, heels clicking frantically, as we slipped into the confined space. My chest heaved, sweat prickling my skin. The thrill of concealment, the danger of exposure, and the intoxicating proximity to Emma created a heady mix of emotions. Inside the closet, Emma turned to me, her eyes locked onto mine. "Do you trust me?" she asked. Yes, I breathed, my voice trembling. "Good," she said, leaning closer. "Because we're not done yet. Not by a long shot." She handed me a different outfit this time, a sleek, black cocktail dress, more daring than the blush-colored one. My fingers brushed against the satin, a shiver running down my spine. "Put it on," she commanded softly. I slipped into the dress, feeling the immediate transformation. The black fabric clung to my body, accentuating curves I had always been shy about. The heels clicked against the floor as I stood, more confident now, more aware of the persona I was embodying. Emma adjusted my hair and makeup with precision, each movement deliberate and intimate. Then she stepped back, her eyes scanning me with approval. "Perfect," she whispered. "Absolutely perfect. Now let's see how daring you can be." She guided me to the mirror, and for the first time, I saw myself fully. Not just Alex, not just the person hidden in the closet, but the culmination of desire, fear, and transformation. My reflection was stunning, intoxicating, and terrifying all at once. The knock at the door persisted, relentless, and my pulse quickened. Emma's hand rested on my shoulder, grounding me, anchoring me in the moment. "This is the ultimate test," she said. "Can you be both vulnerable and confident? Can you face the world as who you really are?" I nodded, taking a deep breath. The heels clicked against the floor as I walked to the door, each step a declaration of courage. I opened the door slightly, enough to peek out, and saw a neighbor holding a package. Relief flooded me, but so did a strange thrill. I had faced the danger, embraced the exposure, and survived. Emma's eyes met mine, a triumphant smile on her lips. "See," she said, "you're unstoppable. And this is only the beginning." The closet, the dresses, the heels, all of it had transformed me, physically and emotionally. I was no longer just Alex hiding from the world. I was someone new, someone daring, someone beautiful, and the world had only begun to see me. But the suspense lingered. The door remained a barrier between safety and discovery. My secret life, my desires, my dual existence, they were exhilarating, intoxicating, and dangerously close to being exposed. And in that tension, I realized the truth. I couldn't go back. The transformation, the thrill, the emotional surrender, it had changed me forever. The apartment fell into a tense quiet, the kind that makes every creak of the floorboard feel like a thunderclap. I stood in the dim light of the hallway, the black cocktail dress hugging my body, heels clicking softly on the polished floor. Emma had retreated to the living room, pretending to scroll through her phone, but I knew she was watching me. Her eyes followed my every move, a mixture of mischief and challenge in their depths. My pulse was a wild drumbeat in my chest. I felt exposed yet electrified, vulnerable and powerful at the same time. Every fiber of my being was alert. The thrill of crossdressing had never been this intense, never felt this dangerously real. The soft sound of footsteps outside the apartment made my stomach tighten. I froze mid-step, my mind racing.
Who could it be?
My breath caught in my throat as the knocking returned, louder and more urgent this time. Emma glanced at me, her expression unreadable. "You know the rules," she whispered, her hand brushing against mine for a fleeting, grounding touch. "Stay calm, stay quiet. Let's see how far you can go." I nodded, swallowing hard. The closet, the dresses, the heels, they had all become symbols of this new, thrilling life I had stepped into. But now the stakes were higher. My secret was on the verge of exposure, and the fear of being caught sent a shiver down my spine. Emma moved to the door, opening it just a crack. The voice outside was muffled but clear. "Alex? You in there? I have to talk to you." My heart stopped. Alex, my real name, my old life, was calling me back, threatening to pull me from the identity I had only just begun to embrace. I felt a surge of panic, my heels wobbling slightly as I shifted my weight. Emma's eyes met mine. "This is it," she said, a sly smile tugging at her lips. Show me who you really are right now." Before I could respond, the door swung open wider than intended. My neighbor, a friendly but nosy presence, stood there holding a package. Their gaze swept over me, taking in the dress, the heels, the carefully applied makeup. My stomach dropped. Emma stepped in front of me, shielding me instinctively. "We've got it," she said, her tone casual. "Just handing Alex's package." "No worries." The neighbor nodded, oblivious, and left. The door clicked shut, leaving us in a charged silence. I exhaled shakily, my legs trembling. My secret had survived another close call, but the thrill and the fear had only intensified. Emma turned to me, her eyes gleaming. "You see? You can do this. You can be her, be you, be everything at once. And no one can stop you, unless you let them." I stared at my reflection in the mirror across the hallway. The cocktail dress, the heels, the carefully styled hair. It wasn't just a costume. It was me. The person I had hidden, the person I had only just begun to understand. And now, more than ever, I wanted to explore this identity, to live in it, even if only in secret. But then came the sound I hadn't anticipated, a text notification. My phone buzzed in my pocket, and with it came a message that froze me in place. "Alex, we need to talk."
"Now."
"Mom." My breath caught.
"Mom."
She never called without a reason. Panic and excitement collided inside me. Could I keep the secret if she walked through that door? Could I maintain this new persona under the scrutiny of someone who knew me as my old self? Emma's hand found mine again, warm and grounding. "Looks like your first real test is here," she said softly, a teasing glint in her eyes. "Do you hide, or do you show her who you've become?" The phone buzzed again, insistent. My mind raced. Should I run? Should I change back into Alex before Mom arrived? Or should I step fully into the heels, the dress, the identity that had awakened something inside me I couldn't ignore? I glanced at Emma, who nodded slightly, silently daring me. My reflection stared back at me, vulnerable, radiant, powerful. My fingers brushed the satin of the dress, my heels clicking lightly against the floor. The doorbell rang. 3 sharp rings. My heart stopped. The world seemed to hold its breath. Every instinct screamed to flee, to hide, to turn back, but a stronger, stranger voice inside me whispered, "Stay." I turned to Emma, her eyes locked on mine. "It's your choice," she whispered. "Step into who you really are, or step back into your old life." I took a deep breath, heels clicking against the floor as I stepped toward the door, hand trembling as I reached for the handle. My reflection in the hallway mirror flickered in the dim light, a perfect image of my new self, beautiful, exposed, unstoppable. The doorbell rang again, sharp and demanding. I hesitated, frozen in that split second between fear and exhilaration. The sound of my own heartbeat echoed in my ears, matching the rhythm of my uncertainty. Emma's hand squeezed mine, a silent promise. And then the door slowly began to open. The screen goes black. Text on screen. Who will I become when the door opens? Alex or her?